With some breaking news, Russia could actually invade Ukraine at any moment. The Biden administration officials reporting a large-scale Russia invasion that could lead to deaths of up to 50,000 civilians and create refugee crises in Europe. This comes as President Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin had a call earlier today to try to prevent an invasion. But kicking off the count with tonight's story number 10, Russia invasion. Joining us to discuss, Newsmax contributor, former Republican senator from Pennsylvania, Rick Santorum. Now, Senator, I got to ask you here. We've had a show of force from President Trump during his entire presidency. We didn't start any new wars. We didn't have any significant problems with Russia or China or anything like that. However, we now have Biden come in, and a year after he takes office, we've seen a botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. We've seen a number of international crises where people don't respect America anymore. And now you have Russia at the border about to cross into another sovereign nation. What do you say?
I think that's a very good summary. The reality is that President Biden's actions and the weakness that we are showing on the international front is precipitating both Russia and China to look to see where they can push their advantage. But you have to also look at home. I mean, you look at home and you see this country very divided, but you see an effort by, again, part of the Biden wing of the party, the left, basically undermining, destroying what America is about, saying America's an evil country. America's not, so they look at us as a country that is in turmoil, that is not confident in itself, that is not going to project power because we question our own goodness. So you have all these factors playing right now that are leading people to take advantage. I throw in one more piece. I think you see people on the right who are saying, oh, we shouldn't be involved in anything overseas. Just, forget about, these problems in Ukraine or Taiwan. They're not our problem. Right. And you're hearing that more and more on the right. So when they see both political parties at home basically saying, leave these people alone, they're none of our business, and you see a weak president, you see us underfunding our military, what else do you expect them to do? Well, unequivocally, the world is a freer place with better intentions when America, has the upper hand, and we are the strong and powerful force that people respect. Now, we've been talking, this has been going on all day. Folks, if you know, I'm on TV at 7 a.m. Saturdays and Sundays, so I've been here all day covering this. And we're talking to people in the Ukraine right now, and that are kind of like, if it happens, it happens. They got people, people are actually kind of ramping up a little bit of training in the streets should this happen, how they could fight back. But it's like you talk to someone in San Francisco about an earthquake. They're like, it happens, we're ready for it. But that same earthquake hits Manhattan, people freak out, and it's total pandemonium. Are we more worried, and are we churching this up in America and creating a frenzy more than Ukraine is, you think? I talk to people in Central Europe and Eastern Europe, and they pretty much tell me the same thing. A lot of them actually discount that Putin's going to do this. They think that Putin is simply looking to maybe take a piece of Ukraine, particularly in the Black Sea area, where is much more strategic to him. They are not as concerned that he's going to make any type of real invasion that's going to cause a lot of casualties and have him take control. They think that he's more likely to do things that will use other non-lethal methods to take control of Ukraine by inserting a puppet government through a variety of different measures. So you hear all sorts of things, particularly from that area of the world, that they're not as concerned about a military invasion as they are about other tactics. Right. It makes you wonder if he's using this as a distraction from a completely utter failure in presidency. So, there's a lot of things moving on here, including our own national security. So you have a number of people, Jake Sullivan, saying that Putin could pounce on Ukraine at any time. They're saying as many as 50,000 deaths. Does anybody actually know what's going on here? No, well, the answer is no. And I think, there's intelligence, but that intelligence basically tells you what he's doing. It doesn't tell you what he's thinking. I mean, Putin isn't sharing that information with people, at least at any time of real-time sense. He's put himself in position to threaten Ukraine, to threaten NATO, and as a result, try to get concessions. Yeah. And we've seen and potentially, like I said, disrupt Ukraine, take over things. Yeah. Now, we've seen a number of people like Jake Sullivan come to the podium and say certain things. One of the things I'm concerned about, look, I come from a world where you act heavily on intel. And
I see them burning a lot of sources, like from information that like is not public, and they're using it to like perpetuate this crisis. Like, oh my gosh, 50,000 people could die, and we're using sources inside Europe and Russia and Ukraine that are not publicly available. They are the dark side of the intel team that give us intel anonymously, and they're burning those sources because we can only get certain information from certain people at certain times. And they're saying, oh, we have this intel. They're putting it out publicly. And now a lot of these sources, people in the intel community are very concerned about that I've spoken to today, are saying, like, stop giving information out because these people aren't going to work with us anymore.
No, I mean, this is a typical thing you see from, I hate to say it, from Democratic administrations. They do burn our sources and all for political gain. And in this case, I don't know if it's political gain so much here in the U.S. I think the Biden administration is deathly afraid of Europe not backing it, deathly afraid of the Germans taking a walk, not so much probably the French, but there are others in Europe that have cozy relationships with Putin and Russia. And I think they're trying to heighten the drama here to get them to stand more closely with us. Yeah. And in the process, you're right, we're burning our sources to do that.
Yeah, well, you mentioned taking a walk. If this does go through, prices for fuel might be so high that pretty much everybody in Europe is going to be walking instead of driving.
Well, and the amazing thing is at the same time, we're not issuing permits here in the U.S. We're shutting down our ability to produce oil and gas, and all we're doing in the process is strengthening Vladimir.
Totally agree. Senator Rick Santorum, we appreciate the insight.
My pleasure. Thanks, Charles.
All right. For more on this, let's bring in another angle. Gordon Chang, the author of the book, The Coming Collapse of China, knows a thing or two about foreign policy. Gordon, welcome to the program. I got to dive right into this. Okay, so we're seeing a number of posturing, and we're going to get to China in a minute, but we're seeing specifically Vladimir Putin. We know that he has always wanted to restore some resemblance of the Soviet Union. So is this a last-ditch effort by President Biden to talk to him today? Was this just a futile thing? Was it just a PR effort? Was it to say, I'm trying? I mean, is there any realized gains or deliverable from this call, you think?
We won't know that for a little bit of time, but I was actually distressed because I thought that Putin really wanted to talk on Monday. Biden wanted to accelerate that. And by trying to accelerate the time frame, it's showing the United States is extremely concerned. And that's about the last thing that you do in these types of negotiations. We just should have adhered to Putin's time frame. So I don't know what the Biden administration is doing, but at least from the outside, it doesn't look like they're adopting the tactics that we would normally implement in a situation like this.
Yeah. So remember in 2019, though, that then candidate Joe Biden, he was former vice president at the time, he said this about Putin.
Because Putin knows if I am president of the United States, his days of tyranny and trying to intimidate the United States and those in Eastern Europe are over. I'm going to stand up to him. He's a bully, just like the president. And I know he doesn't want me to be president, but to tell you what, when I'm president, things are going to change.
Oh, things changed all right. Now, I mean, like, this is like going to the same thing. Remember the debate between Mitt Romney and Barack Obama? And Barack Obama was like, oh, Mitt, the 80s called, they want their foreign policy back. And it was a big joke. And everybody laughed at Mitt Romney because Obama was supposed to be the cool guy. Turns out, was he right?
Well, he was right that Russia was a major threat. I mean, I would have said China is more important and certainly a bigger threat than Russia, but that's just a quibble. The point here with Biden's comments in 2019 is that obviously Putin doesn't respect him because we didn't have this type of crisis during the Trump era. You know, whatever people say about Trump's relationship with Putin, at least Trump kept the peace. And clearly Biden is not doing that because Putin could very well invade. You know, I tend to think that he's bluffing, but I don't know. And clearly Putin wouldn't be doing this if he actually respected American power.
Yeah. Well, real quick, Xi Jinping, he's watching this. He's drooling over this. Russia, let's say Russia rolls in to Ukraine, takes out what Biden called a minor incursion. What does he do with Taiwan at that point? Because the markets are really tipping on this one on commodities. But if Taiwan goes to China, what happens then?
Well, then I think America's defense relationships around the world fall because Taiwan is now considered to be the test of American credibility. Really what's happening here is Putin has a lot of reasons not to invade, But if he does, it really means a total breakdown in deterrence, which means that Xi Jinping will do something. Taiwan, Japan, the Philippines, India, I don't know, but it will be something.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing. So Ukrainian President Zelensky said this today about the crisis. Take a listen real quick.
And the truth that we have different information. And now the best friend for enemies, that is panic in our country. And all this information that helps only for panic doesn't help us.
Yeah, no, keep in mind, this guy's keeping pretty cool. I think he was like a stand-up comedian or an actor prior to being president. So he has the stage charisma to kind of do this. Is he telling people to keep cool because he wants to, not church it up? Or is he actually, is this actually something like, hey guys, there's nothing to worry about here. We get these threats all the time.
I think Zelensky just wants to maintain calm, but I think that he's wrong in the assessment because Putin might actually do something. Mm-hmm. And got to remember, Xi Jinping, the Chinese ruler, has just given Putin the green light to invade because they announced that $117.5 billion of oil and gas deals on February 4th,
right,
which basically is backstopping the Russians to do whatever they want in Eastern Europe.
Yeah. I mean, it is crazy to me that we're sitting here literally talking about a potential ground invasion in a matter of 72 hours potentially. And, Zelensky's standing there saying, oh, guys, it's really not that big a deal. So, Gordon Chang, I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate your insight on this.
Thank you so much, Carl.
All right, folks.